And now I'm excited to have Katie Hunt, co-founder and CRO of Showfields, join us on the virtual stage. Katie's going to help us reimagine retail by sharing her perspective on what store experiences will look like post-COVID. Katie, turn on your camera and join me.
Hi, Veronika.
Hi, Katie. Welcome. We're excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a fun excuse to feel like you're Zooming in front of other people.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a great discussion, and I would love it if you would kick it off for those that don't know Showfields. Tell them what you do.
Sure. So it's a slightly hard concept to explain because it is so out there to some extent, but we're reimagining retail through the eyes of the consumer. And what that means is a physical location that changes every 6 months and has a rotating cast of characters, including artists and emerging brands and more established brands, but it's experiential retail. Everything from a slide from our 3rd floor to our 2nd floor, to tastings, to experiences, to art, and we just opened our 2nd location in Miami.
That is awesome. I've been to your stores and they're like really a delightful experience. It's truly like an adventure, like going somewhere between going to a museum and on a scavenger hunt. It's very cool.
Yeah, we like to say that it lives in that blurry line between the MoMA and the Children's Museum. So you feel like you can touch everything, but everything is super elevated and you're learning, and you get to come in and really meet and hear new stories around brands and artists.
That's awesome. And obviously, you know, much of retail has been closed since COVID. So how did that whole experience change?
Yeah, so I mean, there was definitely a moment of panic across the entire team when we shut our doors, and we actually did close our doors before New York even, made the mandate to do so. For us in what we call consumer commerce, c-commerce, the most important thing is our guests and our team. So we did shut our doors on March 15th, and I'm very lucky to have a very flexible and brilliant team, because within 3 weeks we had live video shopping up and available. So now we have anywhere from 5 to 7 shows a week, and they're anything from art curations to tastemakers from around the globe, walking you through a cooking class, to someone talking about their favorite wellness brands. And all of the videos, you can shop them right there without even leaving the screen.
Wow, that's really cool. What a way to reinvent yourself.
You had to come up with something, right?
Right. We were all reinventing ourselves. CommerceNext has reinvented itself. So let's just talk about, obviously the pandemic has accelerated e-commerce adoption by a number of years, but I don't think stores are going away. I think most people don't think stores are going away, but they do need to be reimagined. So what is the role of stores as more consumers shop online?
So I think the word that you use there is really important. It was an accelerant. It was accelerant across e-commerce, but I think it was also an accelerant across traditional retail. We're seeing a lot of stores closing, a lot of outdated models, having to find a new path forward. And what we had predicted was sort of this change was a few years out, but here we are, and we're watching this happen faster than ever. But what is really pushing this forward is the consumer. The consumer is more advanced than they've ever been before, and they also want things in a different way. What we believe that is c-commerce. So there's always been this idea of traditional retail and direct-to-consumer being different continents, but they're not. Slowly, these two things came together and they formed one land, which we call consumer commerce. And in that world, in the same way that Uber was created because a consumer wants to find a taxi easier, or Warby Parker was created because people want to shop from their glasses from home, it's reimagining the retail experience through the eyes of the consumer. So for us, it's not that the future of retail is going away. Retail is not going anywhere. Retail supercharges the customer. Retail is a meaningful experience between yourself and a brand, and it's also supposed to be really fun. It's just about finding a way to storytell for a consumer now that is meaningful to them. It can't be about you, can't be about your brand, it can't be about the store. It always has to be about reimagining for them. And if you can do that, and if you can remain flexible, and if you can hear the feedback of your consumer and stay where they are, you're never actually having to reinvent yourself. You're actually moving with the trend. So for us, we believe that consumer-focused retail is going nowhere. It's just that maybe we need to have a better conversation in some places with our consumer and how they want to see things and how they want to experience them.
Got it. And that makes a lot of sense. And I want to just double click on that for a second. You know, what creates a compelling store experience? And maybe you can give some examples from what Showfields did in that area.
Sure. So for us, it's about engaging your five senses. And for us, that's clearly changed post-COVID as well. And we've had to reimagine that. But it's about walking away with something that is incredibly memorable. That no matter what, even if you didn't purchase a thing in the store, that you walked away and you felt that there was value in that circumstance for you. I think that there are so many incredible brands out there that have these amazing stories. And it's almost like direct-to-consumer founders are the new pop stars of our generation. We read about them in the New York Times now. We follow their lives. And the reason why is these people went out there with these crazy dreams and they completely reimagined things, but they also did so by pushing the table stakes in a different way, making their products completely sustainable, becoming B Corps, having great, policies within their companies to keep people happy and safe and giving back. And so, in this world where, that is the story, it's a lot easier to tell those stories in a physical space. For us, it's show and fields, right? Half of our store is show, which is dedicated to experiences and emerging artists and crazy over the top experiences. We even had a live theater production that you didn't even know you were entering into for a period of time, which was Sleep No More meets retail, where you got to the bottom of the slide and there was an actor waiting there for you. And she was like, how'd you get here? Let me walk you through my house. So we've definitely tried all things, but at the end of the day, I want someone to come through the store and walk out mind blown. And if they can do that, they're going to remember the things that they met and touched and tasted during that experience. And they're going to go tell other people about them. And that's the fun of retail.
And so for you guys, you do that through a lot of art, through a lot of, storytelling. What are some other ways? For example, Adidas, I think it's Adidas, and their flagship store has a track where you can run around the track and then they can recommend what shoes what are ways that retailers can create that experience for their own brands?
It's always about listening to the consumer, right? And listening to what they want from you and what they think you're an expert in. I think Nike is doing a really cool thing right now by opening the 200 neighborhood stores. They're tailoring the inventory in every single store to that neighborhood. And that's the future of retail. It's not about one store for everybody. It's about walking into something and feeling as if you're seen, as if someone has curated a store just for you and just for your needs. I think that, it's about finding new ways to kind of break the monotony of walking into seeing just racks of the same things in every store and, storytelling, through your own lens. So yes, having a track, yes, having a tasting experience. We've got a lot of brands now launching VR, try-on experiences and by appointment shopping. But I think it's about what you want to tell as your brand, as your story, and then building something around that. For us, it's about discovery. So it's about you meeting new brands and new artists, and that's the thing that we want to do. We want you to go through a journey of discovery. And that includes, we now have an audio tour called The Magic Wand. But for all stores, I think it's about reimagining again through the consumer and then figuring out what's important to them and building that.
Yeah. And you actually kind of started touching on a point that I wanted to cover. So specifically, with consumers, some consumers being reluctant to go to stores due to COVID-19, what can retailers do to create these in-store experiences digitally? You mentioned AR, I've heard Zoom consultations, what else can they do?
So I think there's two streams, right? We have a group of customers who are very excited to be back in our 11 Bond location and to be back in the store and have that joy and be back in New York City. And that's super exciting. But even within that consumer base, we have consumers who want no physical contact with anybody else while they're in the store. And we have consumers who are like, hey, I really want like a little bit of a socially distanced group tour because I miss other people. So it's about building on a spectrum, right? You have to remember that you have customers at different comfort levels, and they should never have to ask for what makes them comfortable. It should be offered on a menu, and they should be able to go in that direction. So for our customers who want no contact, we have the Magic Wand app. They download an app on their phone. It's an audio tour in the app. They can ask questions. They can learn about every piece of art. They can learn about every piece of brand. They can literally check out and then just pick up their bag on the way out. So they never have to be in contact with anybody. And for some of our consumers right now, that's a really important value add. For other consumers, they want to come through the group tour, they want to have a tour guide, but they want a time slot so that they know that there's only a certain number of people in the store and that they're safe and protected. So again, it's on a spectrum. But then we've been able to do all these really, really cool things, right, outside of the four walls of our store because people are looking for new experiences online. And that includes, you know, our live video shopping, but it also includes the fact that all of our brands that are now in our store on their websites, you can click go live and you can go live to Showfields and ask questions about that product. So at any time you can just be like, hey, I want to see how this shirt fits. I want to go live, and it goes live directly into our store. So
that's cool. So someone could try it on or hold it up or answer any questions.
Like, is the fabric heavy? Is it light? Like, what does it look like? Hold it up. How long is it? And these are like the questions that maybe you can't find online just by searching. And that's why in store is so important, which is why we wanted to have a live experience.
Yeah. And then I know when I was in there, like one of the things that was amazing was you'd have these, like, do you call them chefs, if I recall? Is that right? Your guides are chefs?
We call them storytellers.
Storytellers, okay. But they were like, they had all these products so, I mean, obviously now trying on products is going to be a little bit tricky because obviously COVID, people can't touch the same thing. Are you seeing that some of the brands are using AR and alternative ways to kind of create that experience?
We haven't seen it in our physical location, but I'm seeing it around the globe. And I think it's an incredible movement of trying to take a piece of technology to make people feel more comfortable. And again, I don't believe in technology for technology's sake. I think you should always do something with intention. And if the intentionality is making your consumer feel safe, awesome. That's a great addition to any environment. For us, we are arming our hosts who are going through with each group with the ability to wash down everything. So if someone tries on a pair of sunglasses, they literally wash it down right in front of you, hand it to you, and then after you're done, they wash it down again. And we're finding that customers are super comfortable with that interaction. But you know, you've got to take care of everybody in this world right now. You can't be just out there being like, well, we're open, everybody come on in.
Yeah, definitely people are cautious. Well, the other reason I think stores exist or have existed in the past is the convenience factor. You know, is that still an important issue, and what can be done kind of to improve the convenience factor for stores these days?
So we have a brand right now called Cabinet. And Cabinet has a medicine kit that includes acetaminophen, and it includes sort of everything you need to take care of yourself if you do get sick. And one of my favorite things that we were able to do during COVID, because we had a physical location, was to partner with Uber and have those kits delivered to people that were sick in New York City and on demand. So there are things that can be done with a physical location that can't necessarily be done with a shipping center. Delivering within an hour is one of them. But this company, Cabinet, not only was able to do that through Uber, they were actually giving out the kits for free for anyone in need. And so being able to, partner with something like that was very important to us. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of trends around convenience. We're seeing a lot of people wanting to use a physical location now as sort of a second delivery space or pickup location for people that actually don't want to wait for a day for something to be shipped, especially if it's as important as medication. So having a location in the middle of Manhattan that someone can come pick something up from the front without ever having to come in, it's very meaningful to these startups right now. They wouldn't be able to afford that type of real estate normally.
Yeah, so almost like using the store as like a hub, and then people can either pick up or you can deliver from that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we both know that order from home and pick up is going nowhere. I don't know if I'm ever going in a grocery store ever again. I love curbside pickup. I think a lot of people do. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love going in stores. Clearly, I have one. But there's something really convenient about the new trends that are out there that I don't think are going anywhere. And so if you look at Home Depot and all of these other larger brands that have really leaned into that to keep their consumers safe, I think that will be something that will stay with their business model for a very long time.
Yeah, we did some research, CommerceNext with BizRate, about a month ago, and we asked consumers, we were trying to understand which COVID habits would stick. Online shopping, obviously one that's definitely going to stick. People who try it for the first time, they like it. Like most people say they're going to continue to do it. Maybe not for every purchase, but people tend to want to stay with it. But curbside was one of the top ones that people really found that they tried for the first time and enjoyed it, you know, especially if you think about some of these big box store formats, instead of having to go around Lowe's, Home Depot, find your product, if you can just order online, they put it in your trunk, it's pretty convenient. So
yeah, super life changing. I mean, I think I'm a convert for sure.
Let's kind of look beyond today. What is your perspective on the future of stores? You know, what are the biggest challenges or changes, I guess, you would predict in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the bigger challenges are going to be around the larger spaces. I think that people are going to get smaller and more curated. And I think that we have a big hole now around what the department store looks like and what that is going to encompass, or what the mall looks like. And I think there's going to be a ton of innovation in both of those spaces. We already see people like American Dream out in New Jersey creating actual theme parks and aquariums within the mall in order to, drive a new type of commerce within a mall setting, and really push that envelope forward. But I think consumers now, in the same way that it used to be that the movie theater was linked to the mall, are still looking for, more than just a reason around shopping to be someplace. So to have a timeout market food hall, or to have something that is in line in a destination for this generation in another way, is going to be super meaningful for the larger spaces. I think that our bigger brands are going to move to smaller curated spaces. So we'll have to see what that does to, the Fifth Avenues of the world. But for us, I think flexible retail will definitely be something that will take hold now. A lot of people are not going to want to take the amount of risk on their portfolio around retail as they have before. So when you look at direct-to-consumer companies who've gone the path of opening hundreds of stores and have been very successful on that front, it's not that they're not going to want to do that because they know how meaningful that is for them as a business, but maybe they're less likely to sign 100 independent leases going forward. So I do think we're going to see a lot of flexible retail models coming into the space.
Yeah, more like, maybe it's a bad analogy, like WeWork for retail, where you can kind of check in and check out as you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I think your point about the entertainment is spot on. Did a hard hat tour of American Dream early on, and they're doing something like over 50% of their space is non-retail. I think it's 55% like food and entertainment and 45% retail. It used to be, yeah, it used to be that the stores were the draw with like some like little entertainment. And now it's like it's about the experience, and the stores are like what you do while you're like experiencing everything else. It's crazy.
They have an actual roller coaster in there. And a water park. It's one of the more insane things I've ever seen, but I believe it will work. Yeah. I do believe that it's going to be a younger millennial parent who's going to be there versus, potentially an older shopper or a single shopper. So I don't think anyone's fully cracked the code there of like, what is the experience and the elevated experience for someone who's single in their 30s, or for somebody who's in their 50s. What does that look like? And what does the luxury high end of it look like? To be determined if American Dream can also crack that. But I think those models remain to be seen. But the millennial parent will have a lot of really fun things to do coming up.
Awesome. Well, Katie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. So much to kind of reimagine.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always such a pleasure, and it's always such an amazing moment to take a step back and look at all the things that we're working on over here and be really grateful for the team. So I really appreciate you having me.